Despite being only 5 feet 5 inches tall, Philadelphia mob boss Nicodemo Scarfo reigned over one of the deadliest eras in Mafia history, the 1980s. His uncontrolled use of violence and the pile of dead enemies, as well as members of his organization, made him one of the most ruthless mob bosses, which in the end contributed to the decline of the Scarfo crime family.
He murdered to intimidate and to calm his own paranoia over threats to his throne.
This is the story of the first mob boss in American history to have been personally convicted of murder and the Philadelphia Scarfo crime family's downfall. Born in Brooklyn to an Italian immigrant family from Naples and Calabria, Nicky's family had strong ties to the Mafia in Italy. And so, unlike his father Philip Scarfo, who sought to flee the criminal lifestyle of his family by working as a laborer in an Atlantic City hotel, little Nicky embraced it early on. After graduating from high school, he started boxing as an amateur, and he quickly gained a reputation for his raging temper. Nevertheless, he dropped the gloves when he didn't find any success and was formally recruited into La Cosa Nostra in Philadelphia in 1954. And around the time of his admission into the mob, he had earned a reputation as an effective killer, having been taught by his feared Philly mob hitman uncle, Nicky Buck.
And killing came easy to Nicky Scarfo. Just 140 pounds, 5 feet 5 in platform shoes, Scarfo was best known for one thing: murder.
However, his violent temper got the best of him in 1963 after he fatally stabbed a 24-year-old longshoreman with a butter knife in a South Philadelphia pub. After the incident, he was found guilty of manslaughter, but he only served 6 months. He was, however, sent to the backwater of Atlantic City after being released from jail as punishment by the mob. And it didn't take him long to be once again sentenced to jail after he was indicted in a federal racketeering case for the murder of an uncooperative local judge. In addition to that, he was jailed for unlawful weapons possession and refusing to give a statement to a state crime commission. That is how his rise and reign of terror in Philadelphia was only made possible by the death of Angelo Bruno.
Police say the 69-year-old reputed organized crime boss was about to get out of his car just outside his home when 2 unidentified men approached from behind and opened fire.
Up until his murder in 1980, Gentle Don Angelo Bruno, who had been running the Bruno Scarfo crime family since the 1950s, the legalization of gambling in 1976 led to the rise of the racketeering-related crime family. Regardless, Angelo ensured that both South Philadelphia and South Jersey were peaceful and orderly. But his assassination, which was directed by his consigliere, Antonio Caponegro, led to an era of bloodshed and a power vacuum in the Scarfo crime family. Eventually, Phil Chicken Man Testa, Bruno's underboss, succeeded him as the new boss of the Philadelphia crime family and named Scarfo his consigliere. His tenure in power, however, was very brief, as a nail bomb placed under his home's porch killed him a year later.
So when Phil went to go open the door, the bomb went off and the blast blew him all the way to the back door and killed him.
How loud was the explosion? Loud enough to blow me right out of my bed.
The killing of Testa provoked a war within the family, and Nicky took advantage of the situation to declare himself the family's head, and he eventually won the support of the New York Mafia Commission.
1 week after the murder of Phil Testa in March of 1981, the ruling commission of La Cosa Nostra gave Scarfo their blessings to become boss of the Philadelphia Atlantic City family.
However, this commission approval marked just the start of one of the darkest eras in Mafia history. When little Nicky assumed leadership of the crime family in 1981, one of his first acts was to make Philip Leonetti, his nephew, the underboss and induct him into the Mafia.
I gave him my life in the beginning because I thought it was the right thing to do.
Together with Leonetti, they established the concrete contracting business Scarf Incorporated and the steel rod installation business Nat Incorporated. The presence of both enterprises guaranteed that no new casino would be developed without them getting contracts, as he would constantly coerce corporations into purchasing from his company. It was estimated that before being sentenced to life in prison, Scarfo had profited $3.5 million through the construction of at least 8 casinos, as well as other city infrastructure projects like housing developments, prisons, sewage treatment facilities, dams, and even nuclear power plants.
Nicky Scarfo decides he can make millions of dollars in a vast extortion scam.
Interestingly, in 1985, Nicky Scarfo assigned a hitman, Nicholas Caramandi, who was the criminal family's point man, to extort $1 million from Willard Rouse III, a developer looking to expand along the Delaware River.
And I said, look, it's this, $1 million, and you could have whatever you want. You could have the whole waterfront.
Mr. Rouse later informed the FBI, but that wasn't the beginning of Nicky's downfall. The Mafia boss was estimated to have ordered the murders of nearly 30 members of his own organization, and one of them was Salvatore Salvi Testa, the 24-year-old son of Phil Chicken Man Testa. He was one of the Mafia boss's top hitmen and one of his capos. Testa's body was discovered bound with rope and covered with a blanket by the side of the road. He had suffered 2 bullet wounds to the back of his skull, and according to reputable reports, Nicky's ambition and paranoia caused him to order his murder because he believed Testa was moving up the Mafia hierarchy too quickly and would soon make a move against him. He also gave the order to kill Caramandi because he felt threatened by his status within the family. However, it was the killing of Testa that marked the beginning of his downfall, as several of his men began resigning to the government out of fear, particularly Caramandi and his nephew Leonetti, who, when faced with a 45-year sentence after being found guilty of 13 murders and racketeering violations, turned on Nicky and became a powerful witness against him.
In court, Caramandi testifies against his former boss.
He was 10 feet away from me, looked me straight in the eyes, I looked him straight in the eyes.
Nevertheless, in 1989, Nicky became the first Mafia boss to be given the death penalty. He was found guilty of first-degree murder in the death of another mobster. Surprisingly, the verdict was eventually overturned, and in a subsequent trial, he was exonerated of the murder accusation.
Nothing to say. I'm innocent, that's all.
He wasn't as fortunate, though, as he was later found guilty of RICO charges and received consecutive sentences of 14 years and 55 years.
I'm proud of that fact. It was the fact that a New Jersey detective, Lieutenant Ed Johnson, was the one that turned Tom Del Giorno, and as a result of that, 5 additional members turned, and that was really the demise of Scarfo and most of his hierarchy.
Surprisingly, even while being incarcerated, Nicky Scarfo continued to ravel in his criminal lifestyle, as he was later identified in a parallel indictment for the extortion of a financial group, which led to his son Nicky Jr.'s conviction and 30-year sentence in 2015, as he eventually passed away in 2017 at the age of 87 while serving his 55-year sentence. That's how, despite his brutal and violent nature, when he was leading the Scarfo criminal family, one of the most bloodthirsty Mafia bosses in history, met his demise only due to his betrayal, paranoia, and violation of the Mafia's code of honor.